I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. We're going to review today Miike Snow, Happy to You. This is the new album. They're Swedish. We think they're Swedish. And we know, we just looked this up, it is pronounced Miike Snow, not Mika or whatnot. We will post a link showing the band saying it, just so you can't argue with us. Alright, Miike Snow. Tom, how would you describe Happy to You as a sound?
Well, that's actually the part that took me the longest, because it's obviously electronic based.
It's hard to categorize.
It really is. Which actually, we saw part of an interview of them saying, they don't really think about a genre. They don't really care about trying to make something that fits into a specific genre, right. Which I like. They're just very aware of their sound palette, which I think is a wonderful sound palette. The electronic sounds, but still, like, it doesn't just feel all synthesized. There's lots of kind of samples. The beats, while being nice and driving, it's not just the kind of typical electronic beats. Very much so.
They use a lot of acoustic drums, samples that they loop in to make a beat, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and then a lot of it does end up sounding more like kind of a march aspect with the snare drums and stuff like that.
Especially the Wave and Bavarian number one.
For sure. As far as trying to compare to other artists, I mean, this is the part we don't like as much, but, there's not really any way around it. It's a good point of reference if you're trying to get an idea of the sound. I would compare a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the melodies, and the construction of the songs to be kind of similar to Phenomena, only not as explosive.
Right. I think Peter, Bjorn, and John is a good comparison too.
And then a lot of the vocals and vocal effects kind of sound like 2000s era Ween. So and those are all artists that we really like.
Right.
And I think these guys do it well. Now, I don't think that they're quite as adventurous, perhaps, as the artists that we've just named. They're not quite as out there. They play a little safer, but I mean, these guys are production wizards.
Right.
And that's going to be the first thing that you notice. I mean, actually, at least a couple of them produced the song "Toxic" for Britney Spears. That was a big thing of theirs, and that was like before they really started making music of their own. They were just producers, and they're great at it. And so that's the thing that comes in right away. And I've actually, seen some reviews of people online saying, I mean, everyone agrees on that. You can't dispute these guys' production chops. Right. You just can't. But then from where it goes from there is just whether you like the songwriting or not. I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, production's great, but the songwriting's lackluster. It doesn't really get me at all. Well, I really enjoyed it.
I did too.
And for 10 tracks, it's a pretty short album. The songs move along really quick. The range as far as the scope of variety isn't that great, but I think it's big enough. I think there's differences enough between the songs that you can start to appreciate the differences. There's some way more poppier, kind of dancier numbers, and there are some that are a little more low-key.
Good variety.
Absolutely.
One thing that really impressed me was just how they were able to focus each song so that the parts that you hear, the actual different, electronic melodies or whatnot, and how they mixed in the vocals with that, how everything just always sounds good. Nothing ever about this album sounds awkward or aggressive even. It's just a nice sound, and that's something
very smooth.
Yeah, right. Smooth is a great way to put it. It really helped me. The accessibility just inherent in that style made it very easy for me to attach to these songs. Now, whether or not they're about anything, I don't really think Miike Snow is they're the type of musicians that actually make music that's about something. And that's kind of where my criticism of the album comes in. While I really like this, I think it's a great play. I can't really love it. I can't fall in love with it. For one, it's more of a compilation than an album, which to me, that's something that's really important to me in the music I listen to. Is I want to listen to an album. A compilation such as this, I think, is the best type of compilation where there's a high quality in almost every track. Now, I do feel like some of these tracks are just top-notch, and some of them aren't quite top-notch. I feel like there's others that kind of wear their influences on their sleeve too much. There's some, latter era Moby towards the end that I just kind of like the paddling out. Like, I didn't really get into that just because I felt like it wasn't quite original, and I would love to see Miike Snow as a band really embrace a definitive sound rather than just, taking all of the stuff that's out there and just doing it really well. And really, that's a criticism I have of other bands like Radiohead, even though they're my favorite band. You gotta make it their own. That is something that Radiohead is able to do. Miike Snow is relatively doing the same thing with electronic pop music. And they're taking all of these influences and making really high quality music out of it, but they still have yet to make it their own, I feel like. So I feel like that's the only thing that's really keeping this from being in that upper 80s zone for me.
Yeah, you know, I think I, compared to you, thought that even the weaker tracks were a little better. I mean, there isn't a track on here that I don't like.
I'm with you.
And so listening to it straight through, it was just so much fun.
Yeah,
it's just so much fun to listen to. And while I definitely admit there's not a whole lot of depth there, it's more just you're going to enjoy listening to this. It's like eating candy. You know, it's not great for you. It's not going to make you think deeply and philosophically about your life and the things you do.
It's kind of like Fun Dip.
No, we're not bringing the Fun Dip back. That's terrible. But really, I mean, I think that they did the absolute best they could have with what they were going for and what they had, but that's also a little bit of a limiting factor. Yeah. At the same time, I have to give this a good score just because I feel like the consistency, the quality throughout the album is too much to ignore.
I completely agree. I'm going 79.
I'm going 84.
So, low 80s for us at VIMTV. We like this album. We put our stamp of approval on it. Oh, another artist we forgot to compare this to. Gautier.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that, you know, this actually reminded me a lot of Making Mirrors, which we really liked Making Mirrors. We got an 85 from us. So definitely check this album out if you were into any of those artists that we see, or just like electronic kind of pop music, not necessarily dance music, but just, you know, kind of a good, fun, nicely produced album. This is one you definitely want to check out. What did you guys think of Miike Snow's latest release? Tell us at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also, let us know what you thought on Twitter and Facebook, because that's where we do all of our communicating with our fans, and it's all about you guys. You guys are what makes VIMTV go, so thank you very much for watching. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.